Hey, I am Joe Tomerop, son of late Sir Tei Abel, who was the opposition leader in the United Party, who had the number in 1972 when they came into the parliament. My father was totally against independence, and his reason was the country, especially the islands, was too young to understand the word independence, as we were developed very late. And I'd like to highlight some statistics here of the development. Australia was adamant that they wanted to give us independence, and I believe there was a conspiracy between him and them and the Pangu Party. As in 1972, Islands United Party had the majority, but some of the young elite educated were enticed by the opposition, and they joined Pangu Party, and we got independence in 1975. And I'd like to say that it is still early in my books, in my thoughts, and in my life, even though I have appreciated what the country has done. But generally the country is not in touch with what has happened. Let's say, for example, I would like to highlight my life first. In 1966, I did grade 6 in Wabek Primary School, the only primary school in entire Wabek, besides some missing schools. And then in 1967, I came down to Mount Hagen to do grade 7, or they call it now, but was Form 1 then. And after completing my Form 4, I went to Woodall in 1970 and did my 3 years there. And I believe I was the 4th batch that went to Woodall those days. Then I got transferred, and then I got posted to Lyagam. And after 6 months, I was transferred to Wapinimanda in 1974 to localize an expatriate. So at 19 and a half, imagine me localizing an expatriate without much experience. But I believe I did what I had to do because I had some background knowledge also. So that is why my father said we were still young and that we need to wait. And I believe our public servants were also young everywhere in the country. Now, I'd like to highlight the other reason he did was islands was developed very, very, very late. In 1920, I believe the first Europeans went to the highlands, especially in Eastern Islands, and then in the 1930s they moved up to the Western Islands, the Wagi Valley and all that, and then in the 1920s they moved up to Southern Islands and Enga and that area. So that is how we are, since we've come far to get independence now. We believe, and I still believe, that there are people out there that have not seen a white man yet. An example is when I was down at the back end of Compium, I took a couple of white men with me, and some people ran away from them because they've never seen a white man. And today, I want to highlight that as an history, as my schooling history, and I want to talk a bit about the legislative history. Legislative history here it stands. In 1962, the first legislative government was established, and I believe a man from Enga called Kipongi was flown down by the Kiaps from Wabek into Mosby. And then in 1964, the first election was held. Assembly election was held, and my father got elected in that one. And in 1968, the second election, and in 1972, we were talking about self-governing already then. Imagine how young we were, and we were given independence in 1975, which I believe the Pangu Party and the Australian government knew that my father said Tei would say no to independence and organize and enticed some of our younger blokes or younger MPs to go into the parliament. So they did, and they formed a government, and in 1975 we got independence, and here we are. But I just want to say something about those, that the self-governing was okay, and then over to the running of the country was all right from 1975 to 85 to 1985 to 1995, that was okay. And suddenly, for some odd reason, the provincial government was abolished in 1996. The provincial government was abolished, and look at where we are now. The developments up there are creeping all over the place, because provincial government was doing the job on the ground, and they were responsible to the parliament, and the parliament could remove them or put them depending on their performance. And the development was going very well until the young MPs thought they were losing power. So they abolished the provincial government, and then they started forming this thing called DDA in 2014. And now the DDAs are running around with their own development plans, and the governors are running around with their own development plans, and we are getting confused. And I don't know how other provinces are running, but Enga is at chaos right now, as you can see and as you have heard. So I believe the independence was early, and it was too early. Thank you.